Otherwise, it's almost the same as using no microphone. I actually wonder if we need it, because now it's very low. No, you can turn it up a bit, because I also need to see what I have in front of me. Okay, yeah, so now that's too loud.
No, it's okay.
Okay, I just continue to talk and then maybe you get it at the moment. It's not too loud?
No.
Are you sure? Okay. You were sitting there, so fine. Okay, so some of you I don't know, so I don't know what exactly brought you here. As a Buddhist one would say karma, which has strange ways sometimes. So this course is about, is a text, is in that book, and the text itself is not so big, there's also commentary with it, and this text is called Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life. So it's a guide, it is something, it's instructions, it is methods, how to attain a state which is totally free from all suffering. Meaning, not just the suffering, but also the causes that what creates suffering is afflictions, negative emotions, what else could one call them? Delusions, states of mind that when they come up in our mind, that they create a picture of reality which somebody else who doesn't have these kind of not very calm mind states sees it in a different way. Do you see what I'm saying? Like when we are angry and somebody at one person or at one situation, and the person next to us is not angry, then they see the situation of the person totally different than from we see it. The same goes for attachment. When somebody has a desire for somebody else or for a certain object, if somebody else is next to us and has absolutely no desire or even disgust, then that's sure that they're looking seemingly at the same object. Yeah? But what they see through their mind, I'm not just talking about eyes, because with their eyes they only see shape and color. But then it's like habit, opinion, views that come in that kind of cover that object, and then that object becomes something different than from what it actually is. And we all know that by looking, for example, when we were children, did you have a favorite toy as a kid? Okay? So if you would have lost that toy, it would have been disaster when you were a child. Did you bring your toy? Why not? Why is it not a disaster that you don't have it with you right now? Why don't you even miss it? Why would it be almost a punishment if you would have to play with it? All these hours that you wanted to play with it as a kid. Why? What has changed?
Our views. Our views.
Our view of the object. So the object is still the same. Yeah? So the object is the same, but the way we look at it or what it wakes up in us is like that is changing. And this is what we don't understand, this is what we don't see, because when delusions or afflictive emotions, negative emotions, disturbing emotions, sometimes they're called, it's all the same. It's called klesha. So, if you do Vipassana retreats, then one works, especially in Sanskrit, one works with the word klesha. Yeah? Klesha is all of this. Klesha is when it comes up in the mind, it distorts the mind. The mind doesn't see anymore what is actually there. But, unfortunately, it doesn't see that it distorts. Yeah? It is like being born with, sunglasses that are green. And then you think the whole world is green. Everybody else comes and tells you, no, the world is not green. But because you're so used to these sunglasses, then you go, well, you are wrong and I am right. Right? So these are kleshas. Like a definition of a klesha, or, what kind of English word shall we use so I don't have to give you the whole thing? If I say klesha, do you know what I mean? Because then we can just have one word for what is the same. Because afflictive emotions, disturbing emotions, delusions, negative emotions is all the same thing. We will come to them. I mean, they're being mentioned in the chapter 5 here, what we're going to do. So if I say klesha is when the mind is kind of calm. You see, I can look at this camera without any problems. There's no aversion nor attachment. It's not mine, yeah. But if the camera would be mine and then Tomer kind of knocks it over and it breaks, I would have quite a bit of a reaction towards it, because as long as nothing is happening to this camera, which is mine, the attachment I have to it because it's mine is not manifest. It only shows it's there. It only shows itself when somebody steals it, breaks it, takes it away, criticizes it. Oh, what kind of camera you have? Well, this is outdated and it's not, like this. But since it's not my camera, I can, with my mind, I can look at this camera without any attachment, without any aversion, and it's a camera, and it leaves me here, open, calm, undisturbed. When a klesha comes up, attachment, aversion, jealousy, pride, arrogance, disdain, depression, when one of these emotions is there, you can feel it in your body, it becomes narrow. Here, you can feel it, like the kleshas are not in the head, yeah? Negative emotions are not in the head. This is where we try to do something with them, but it's not here. They're here. And then it becomes very narrow, and then what it does, because the mind is agitated, for example, the mind is agitated in a way, I don't have control over the mind anymore, I can go like, okay, Tomer brought the camera, it is just a camera, it's okay, it costs, I don't know how much, but anyway, there's an insurance, I can come up with all these, I could come up with all these arguments. But this narrowness of the klesha prevents me from going into the cortex, from being reasonable. And it goes, he broke it, he broke it, he broke it, he broke it. And all of a sudden I start to hate him. And then all of a sudden also this whole attachment to the camera, then aversion towards Tomer, and then all of a sudden I start fantasizing, he did it on purpose because he doesn't like me. Yeah? This is how these kleshas can create a story, and we firmly believe in it, which is absolutely not true. We don't see it so much when we do it, because we think what we do is always true, and is always right. And that's the way it is. He doesn't like me, he did it on purpose, and now he's very happy that it's broken. He sits there all embarrassed and heartbroken because he kind of knocked over this stupid object, which is just an object, and he doesn't know what to do, and then he runs away or whatever. But no, my mind says, you did it on purpose, and he's very happy about it, and all this. When somebody harms you, and you feel hurt, you're always convinced they do it on purpose, and now they're very happy that they hurt me, isn't it? I mean, it's a topic for the Yom Kippur course, it's not a topic for this course. But this is it. This is our own attachment to a self, to me, to an I, and then with attachment and with aversion and all this, that we start creating these stories. Now, I'm seeing this camera the way it is. It's not quite true. You should have objected. You should have said, no, it's not true. Because I see it also as existing out there, separate from my mind. As a real camera. This is how it appears to me. Okay? Whereas, if I would take this thing apart, I wouldn't find any camera. Because the camera, as camera, is only in my mind, right? It's a kind of, it's an accumulation of parts which have a function, which then can make a film, And then we started calling this camera. I don't know how you call it in Hebrew. Camera?
מצלמה.
Huh?
מצלמה. מצלמה. מצלמה.
Matzemat.
מצלמה.
Matzemat. Oh, nice. Matslema. Okay. Does it explain what it is? I mean, does the word say it's a thing that makes pictures? Or
צלם is a figure.
Image.
Oh, okay. That's nice. Yeah. So this is the mistake I'm making, even though there is no attachment and there is no aversion, but I still see it existing separate from my mind. This is how it appears. Now, that klesha is called wrong view. Okay, so we have in when we function daily, we function with these three things constantly being there, and then sometimes jealousy also comes in, and arrogance comes in, and jealousy, arrogance, pride, miserliness, all this comes in also. But in general, to keep this a little bit easy and simple, one works or one functions with these three things. Because I see things as really existing from their own side, out there, then immediately my views, my habits, my memories that I don't see start to label good or bad. The moment, or not interesting. Yeah? Not interesting seems to be a neutral and a good mind. It's not, because then it doesn't really see what is there. But very often we go good, bad, I want, I don't want. Then we push away or we want to take, and then we add things to the object or to the people that are not there. And all this, even though, as a Buddhist, you hear this again and again and again and again and again and again and again, because this is what we learn, and this is why we suffer. This is the cause for suffering. So we hear it again and again and again. Still, every time, not every time, but most of the time, we fall into the trap and react and create karma. Yeah? We act either by pushing it away, getting it, stealing it, then now it's mine, somebody takes it away from me, then I get angry, and all this. And then, once the story has become really big, and a good Buddhist friend comes and says, hey, but it's not exactly the way that you think it is. Instead of saying, oh, thank you very much, I totally forgot again, we kind of get angry at the person and say, you don't understand. Yeah? So this is why cleansing our mind of these reactions, these views, this habit, takes an incredibly long time. But this is the purpose of practicing Buddhism. The other day somebody said, oh, I'm so happy that I'm practicing Dharma because my life has become so much happier. It's not the purpose. It's a side effect. It can be a side effect. But maybe also not, Whether you're happy or not depends. Maybe some ghosts come. Whether you're happy or not depends on many, many factors. It depends on your present state of mind, it depends what's happening outside, it depends very much on your views and on many things. So yeah, if you meditate a lot, you study the Dharma, your life becomes somewhat happier, but that's not really the purpose. The purpose is to really understand why we suffer, to really understand and accept that we do suffer because we have negative emotions. Because we have negative emotions, with which we create karma, and then the karma reacts like a boomerang, like the whole thing is coming back at one point, or also we create a habit of repeating. It goes for skillful actions where we are helpful to others, goes for unskillful actions where we make others suffer, or we suffer, or whatever. So that is really the purpose of practicing Buddhism, to free ourselves, not just from the boomerang that comes back, but especially to free ourselves from throwing it again and again and again and again. And that takes a long time. Yeah. So, just briefly, I don't know, how many of you, is there somebody who hasn't heard about the Four Noble Truths? I mean, who doesn't know what they are? Heard, maybe yes, but do you all very much, very deep inside know the Four Noble Truths? Everybody knows. If you don't react, so I believe you, and then, just looking at me like this, I don't know whether this is a yes or a no. Yeah, so if you don't know, then I'll go through it quickly so that this whole thing, what we're doing here, makes sense. Because we are in the 5th chapter, so it is in a way an ongoing program, and tomorrow I will do a recapitulation. But as a basis, which is not here yet, but still like we can do tonight, is like I need to know where you stand so that I can fill in what you need to know so that then the whole thing makes sense. So everybody knows about Four Noble Truths?
No.
Huh? Yeah, okay. Good, I tell you, I think there's other people who are really happy that you said no. They just didn't have the guts to say, no, I don't want it. Okay. Okay, let's test them, the ones who didn't say anything. No. So when the word Buddha means awake, okay? Awake in the sense of what we see, what we think is reality, what we think is awake, as opposed to a Buddha, is dreaming. Each one of us is caught in its own individual dream. And we think we are awake. So in a dream, as long as you are dreaming, you're reacting with joy, with fear, with anger, with, with whatever. We're trying to hide your mistakes when you make them and all these. It's not necessary. If you would know it's just a dream, you made a mistake. You made a mistake. Sorry, it's just a dream. Yeah. Still, if you would be able to dream lucidly, you wouldn't say, "Oh, it's a dream, therefore it doesn't matter." You would react in your dream. You would live your dream, but you would live your dream in a totally different way than not knowing that it's a dream. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Because our mind is wanting to participate. It doesn't just say, "Oh, it's just a dream." So you can't. But you would react differently than when you don't know that you're dreaming. Because when you're not dreaming, then you react as whatever is produced only by the mind in the dream, you react as if it's true and something is happening out there, separate from your mind, real people, real situations. Yeah? So the word Buddha means awake. So the Buddha, as opposed to us, is awake, has freed himself or herself. Everybody can become a Buddha. Yeah? But the Buddha was a person like us, just a human being. It's not a god, it's not an omnipotent god, even though we prostrate to it. Yeah? We prostrate to it to show our appreciation for having these methods in order to attain a state which is totally free from all suffering. That is why. So, and one practices because one wants to attain the same state. So the Buddha, at one point, he was a prince, he was very rich, he had a very beautiful life, but still he said, but why do I get sick? Or why do people get sick? Why do people get old? Why do people have to die? And why do we then have to be uncontrolled be reborn again? Because in India, this whole thing about rebirth is like the same way as most of the people in this country and in Europe do not believe in rebirth. Most of the people all the people in Asia, be they Hindus or Buddhists or whatever, they all think, yeah, of course there's rebirth. Yeah, you do come back as either a human or an animal or some other form. So it's something that is a common view. It's just here that it's not common. But again, maybe for those who are new, whatever I'm saying, and you think, no, this I don't want to believe, it's fine, don't believe it. I'm just presenting you the Buddhist view. Then at least you know a little bit what it is, and you can participate in the conversations because Buddhism has become very popular. But I have to say, most of the people do not understand what it is, because Buddhism is very, very complex also. Because there is nothing that is itself. So whatever I'm saying, you can come with a yes but and tell me exactly the opposite. And even the Buddha said, my teachings are not true. They only lead to truth. And what kind of truth? The truth of there is dissatisfaction. Is that true? It is dukkha. Yeah, the first noble truth of dukkha is called. Very often it's translated as suffering. But then we think of pain. But that's not what he meant. I mean, he did mean also the pain, but that's, you swallow some painkiller and then the pain is gone. Or you smoke some drugs or something, then also the pain is gone. Or you kill yourself, then also the pain is gone. It's not, but he meant like, even with a healthy body, even having no financial problems, even having a very good partner that is loving and considerate and all this, even your children that you have, or your grandchildren if you're my age, your grandchildren that you have, they're all okay, they're all succeeding, they're all going towards being lawyers and doctors and actors or ministers, prime ministers, whatever. Yeah, well, we need good prime ministers, come on. Huh? We need good politicians because we need good people who have power and can use it in order to change something for the better. You need power to change things for the better. Alone, what can you do? So anyway, so even if your house is nice, you have a perfect metapele who is cleaning and loves you, cooks like Thai kitchen and all this. Even with all this, you can be frightened, you can be depressed, you can be full of anger, full of hate, full of desire, full of jealousy. That's what he meant. Is that true or not? I live in Switzerland. I mean, you think everybody's happy there? No, they have different problems, but it's also problems. Our crazy mind creates problems. And the moment the problem is there, we don't see that we've created it. It's like designing a really beautiful dress. And then you forgot that you designed it and you see it somewhere and you go, wow, how beautiful. And you totally forgot how you sat down and made this dress, and at the beginning it didn't look good, and slowly as it kind of came into shape. We forget. Okay, so he says our life is not satisfying. And I think we can also look at it maybe from a different angle. We all have love, yeah? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no? Yes. We all have to some extent compassion. We all have to some extent joy. We all have to some extent courage. We all have to some extent determination to really, even it's difficult, we finish something. Yeah? So why is it that we can't just live that potential? Because do you like love? Do you like joy? Do you like feeling compassion for somebody, even though it hurts? But it touches a spot in our heart which is very beautiful. This connection with somebody else, this understanding that somebody else is suffering. Now if we can't help, this is terrible. But if we can help, it's so beautiful. It's the most beautiful thing you can do. Somebody needs help, you can give the help, and that is creating joy. And that is creating a good feeling about ourselves. Not, oh wow, look at me, how good I am. Not like this. Just a very open feeling of understanding I'm a good person. Not better than the neighbor, but just very simply, I am a good person. Yeah? So, that not being able to live it, this is what is not satisfying. to be under the control of the negative emotions. Luna, if you have a cat, I know that you're very sensitive to light, but you know that the Dalai Lama, he puts on a cap or like a shield, so it's perfectly okay. Also, if you want to put on your sunglasses, I'm not disturbed by that. No, of course not. You should feel comfortable. Anybody else also, if the light is too strong, I think, yeah, probably we need it.
Last time you put this down.
Huh?
Last time you had only the arrows.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay for you?
Yeah, we can try. And then it looks like a nightclub a little bit at the beginning, and then the eyes get used to it, and then it's okay. So this is what the Buddha meant by dukkha. So yes, he said, like, suffering. Yeah, now the camera. This is the problems with the camera.
Yeah,
the camera is still happy.
Looks pretty dark.
It's really dark. Yeah. So I guess you have to turn it on again. And Luna, you just put on your sunglasses. So when he talks about dukkha, he says yes, the suffering of pain in the body, pain in the mind, is not satisfying. I mean, we all agree on that. And we all agree on this, and everybody, when you have pain in your body, then you do something, you move, yeah? Like Luna had pain in her eyes, so then we try to do something. Yeah, this is understanding dukkha. When we understand it has a cause, we can do something about it, and we try to get rid of the cause. Yeah, like last course I explained, like when we came up, I gave in to my attachment to French fries, and then also I ordered cauliflower, which on top of it was also fried. It said crispy. I didn't know that crispy is fried. So I love it. I really love it, but I have a really bad liver. So I get headache the next day. So sure enough, I had a headache next day. But I knew it. So I still ate the whole thing because I like it. So I wasn't complaining the next day waking up, I didn't complain, I didn't blame the people who made the French fries or who kind of write crispy cauliflower and I, a Swiss person, don't understand that this means fried. Yeah, so I just thought maybe, a little bit, not deep fried, but just fried. But anyway, so when we know the causes, we can accept it. Because I also know if I don't eat French fries, it's quite rare that I have a headache. I still have sometimes, but it's quite rare. Yeah. So like this. So there's the suffering of pain that we try to alleviate by doing something. But then the Buddha also talks about suffering of change. That as long as we have this mind who is under the control of negative emotions, whatever we find joy in always ends. And that's more difficult to understand, yeah? Like, like now it's kind of starting to get cooler, but in the summer, maybe here it doesn't work because it's hot everywhere. But have you been to Europe? Okay. So in Europe, used to be, not anymore, but it used to be summer, it was like 25 degrees, something like this. So then when you constantly in the shade, it's cold. So you need to go in the sun. But then you sit in the sun and then very quickly it gets too hot. So you need to go back in the shade. This is the suffering of change. When you are tired of sitting, then you need to, when you're tired of sitting on the ground, you need to go and sit in a chair. Then you get tired or in pain by sitting in a chair, then you need to go and sit on the ground. When you are tired of walking, you need to go and lie down. Then you lie down and sleep, but then you have to get up because we constantly need to do something in order not to suffer the suffering of pain. Yeah? Just very simple, How long do you think you can sit without doing anything before the suffering kicks in? Before suffering of pain comes? How long do you think? Huh?
A few minutes.
It says a few minutes. How many minutes?
5.
5. Ooh, okay. Anybody else? Are you not breathing? Is that not doing something? If you breathe out and you don't breathe in.